Let's have another chat, shall we? Well, if you missed part 1 of this series, I'd highly suggest you check out that video first. Now, in part 1, I explained how and why this current market correction, or crash if you will, has little to do with what we experienced in 2008. Now, in this video, I'm going to illustrate how and why the recovery from this correction may come quicker than most are expecting and could set the stage for a staggering recovery in home values. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm very bearish in our current market. But unlike 2008, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's actually pretty encouraging. To compare these two scenarios, let's first go back to 2012 to understand how and why we recovered last time. Now, what most people fail to recall is that while the crash started in 2007, our market didn't really start recovering until 2012. It took Las Vegas 5 years to begin to recover. While banks were holding on to roughly 50,000 foreclosures, the median price here in Las Vegas had plummeted to $109,000. That was the median price back in 1990. In short, prices in Las Vegas had dropped so low that we were selling homes for $40,000. We literally sold homes for less than the land underneath the home itself was worth.
You are insane.
With prices continuing to slide, not many buyers were willing to take the risk over these past 4 years. Well, in 2011, Nevada passed the Senate bill AB 284, which it halted foreclosures and added mediation proceedings, which ultimately stopped some foreclosures while massively slowing down the rate of foreclosures. So since short sales and foreclosures were the bulk of our market, what ended up happening is our swollen inventory began to shrink. Now, as inventory shrank in early 2012, savvy investors descended upon Vegas and started purchasing investment properties in bulk. Now, these properties were cheap, right? And the cap rates were incredibly generous. Every person with like $100,000 in the bank either paid cash for a property or leveraged their capital into purchasing multiple properties.
I'll take them all. Oh.
Now, once investors started purchasing, the inventory became increasingly constricted, and suddenly prices started to actually rise for the first time in 5 years. Well, once that flag was waved that it was now safe to purchase, everyone who had been sidelined for 5 years came out and started purchasing again. This started the decade-long run of massive home value increases. So, how does our current market compare to that 2012 recovery? Now, as we just learned back in 2012, our government intervened and essentially manipulated the market by tightening the inventory, which then consisted mostly of short sales and foreclosures. Now, that bet paid off as inventory shrank and the market quickly recovered from there. So here's the good news. As we learned in part 1, unlike the last housing crash, it's highly unlikely that people will lose their homes to foreclosure.
Are you all right? That was close.
Homeowners are sitting on substantial equity, and more importantly, they have the comfort of long-term fixed rate mortgages at historically low rates. So current owners have unparalleled levels of affordability baked into the deal. As a result, our current inventory is only sitting around 8,000 homes here in Vegas. In this current market, that translates to just over 5 months supply of inventory, which technically makes it an even market. However, we all acknowledge this is actually a buyer's market. Now, consider the fact that we typically sell around 3,000 homes per month here in Vegas. By that metric, we're sitting on only about 2.5 months supply of homes, which actually makes this a solid seller's market. So how do we manage to transition from the worst sales in over a decade back into recovery mode? See, I see this happening in 2 ways. First is pricing, and second are interest rates. The two aren't mutually exclusive either. So let's first talk about interest rates a bit. The reason our market collapsed overnight this time is due mostly to interest rates. Let's just be honest here for a moment.
This is America, goddammit.
Americans don't care too much about the cost of a product as much as they focus on the monthly payment of that product. How else can you explain McDonald's employees with $1,000 iPhones in their pocket? It's not that the phone costs $1,000, it's that this phone can be acquired for only $50 a month. Do you really think Apple would sell just as many phones if all of us had to pay $1,000 to $1,500 for a new handset every year?
Oh, hell no.
But the carriers finance the payments into your bill, and Apple now leases phones directly to consumers. So now back in our peak in May, the median price here in Las Vegas reached $485,000. Back in January, when rates were at 3%, that payment with 20% down came to $2,048. Now, at today's rate of 7%, that same payment rises almost $1,000 a month to $2,994. Put simply, mortgage payments are up 32% this year. For the typical consumer, that's no different than paying $640,000 for that same home that just cost $485,000 in January. So virtually no consumer product can succeed when the cost of ownership goes up 32% in less than a year, especially when that product is your largest expense. So if rates remain at 7%, we'd need the median price to drop only $325,000. That would be the price to meet the same level of affordability as we had for that home in January. So again, in reverse, median home prices need to drop 32% to regain affordability to where we started this year off at. We're already down 10% in just 5 months. I can easily see another 10% on the horizon. So imagine by the end of next year, we're down 25% from our high, or maybe rates break through 5%. Hey, let's go completely hybrid like a Prius. Prices come down only 15% from their high, but rates come down to 5%. That essentially brings affordability right back to where we were in January of this year. Suddenly, we're right back in the game again. Well, if we learned anything from last time, investors will likely be the first buyers to realize the opportunity. As soon as one or both of those metrics align themselves with affordability again, investors will come out and commence purchasing properties. Now, this insurgence will stabilize our market. Once stabilized, quickly you'll find buyers that have been sidelines for, 1 to 2 years, immediately jumping back into the game. Now remember, unlike last time, it's not likely that sellers will put their homes on the market during this interim. Therefore, it's not likely that inventory will increase very much. Well, if investors and traditional buyers come out in mass, we're going to burn right through that 2.5 month supply of inventory real quick. Then what? We're right back to where we started a few years ago. No inventory, high demand, and then we have bidding wars. This is precisely what happened in 2012. But even back then, you had buyers with decimated savings from losing their homes and limited financing options as a result. This time around, that won't be the situation. This time, you'll have sellers that sat on the sidelines with large amounts of equity to put down on all these new homes. So, while it sounds utterly absurd right now to talk about the recovery, it's important to understand the underlying structure of this housing correction and put yourself in a position to succeed once the smoke clears here. The good times don't last forever, and neither do the bad. So let's keep a vigilant eye on rates, pricing adjustments, and inventory. That's the holy trinity of this housing recovery. A hybrid approach to reducing affordability by 32% seems to be the magic number to get housing right back on its feet. Well, that's it for this video. Please share this video with friends and family. Enjoy the holidays. Click to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Deuces.